Hi, everyone. This is Hillary Topper here from We Are Triathletes. And welcome to our webinar series. Today, we're going to focus on Beauty and the Beast Triathlon, which is located in gorgeous St Croix. And with me today, I've got Coach Scott Fricks. He's one of the race directors of the race, and he's going to talk all about the race and about why St Croix is an amazing place for a destination race. And without further ado, I'm going to welcome Scott to the
Hi, Hillary.
To the webinar. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your team before we get started.
Okay, sure. So I live most of the year in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. We also have a place in Vail, Colorado, which makes for some pretty good training between the two places. But unlike yourself, I'm not a cold weather person. I see you're sitting there in your sweater, and I'm sitting here in a t-shirt freezing in 80-degree weather. So we do like living and training in the Virgin Islands. That's where I live most of the time. I am an ITU level 2 triathlon coach. I'm also an FM Tri Federation of Mexico triathlon coach, a USAT triathlon coach, and a youth and junior certified triathlon coach. So those are my certifications. I'm also a USAT certified race director. Myself and Teresa Harper took over the St. Croix Beauty and the Beast Triathlon last year. It was an Ironman branded event. And, of course, Ironman is the Burger King of triathlon, right? And we're more like the backyard barbecue. So Teresa and I are also both part of the Virgin Islands Triathlon Federation, which is the equivalent. We're the sanctioning body for triathlon in the Virgin Islands. So it's the equivalent to USA Triathlon in the U.S. If anybody knows, you have to have a USAT one-day license, and if you're competing or be a USAT member, we do the same thing, but we do it in the Virgin Islands. So we're Virgin Islands Triathlon Federation. So that's my story. That's my background.
So tell me, I think a lot of people will be wondering this as well. How did you get to St. Croix?
I swam. No, I didn't swim. It's a long way. St. Croix is actually, I'll get to that in a second. St. Croix is actually relatively easy to get to, but I came down in 1999, came down for a friend's wedding, found a business opportunity and went, this is a place that I could live. We have 3 seasons here: early summer, midsummer, and late summer. And as a guy that loves warm weather, this just seemed darn near ideal. You can actually, I think you and your viewers can look behind me in the back and see all the palm trees blowing in the breeze. And then really it's like that, 350 days a year here in the Virgin Islands. Sunny, warm, and sometimes breezy.
So talk to us about this St. Croix Triathlon. Can you talk about different options that you have available?
Sure. So we have, I guess, 4 different events, or 3 different events plus the relay. We have a half distance, which is a 1.2 mile downhill swim. And let me qualify that. St. Croix is really one of the easiest open ocean swims in the world. There's never a wetsuit required. It is salt water. It's very buoyant. So we do call this a downhill swim. It's a very easy swim. Then it's the half is followed by a 56-mile, one of the toughest 56-mile rides that you will ever do in triathlon. And I've heard people say that there are tougher triathlons. I haven't found them. I've raced in LMC, Austria, which is a very difficult, a lot of climbing race, and even Ironman, you pick it, Boulder and Louisville, and I've done them all. St. Croix is tough. It is not your grandmother's triathlon. So, it's a very hilly, high output, high power output course, and then followed by a 13-mile, extremely scenic, but moderately challenging run. And then we have a sprint distance triathlon, which is actually kind of a modified sprint. It's a half-mile swim, an 8.5-mile relatively challenging bike, and a 4-mile run. And then we have an aquathon, which is a half-mile swim followed by a 4-mile run. But they're all super, super, super scenic. Not easy, but scenic.
So tell us about some of the pros that raced at St. Croix?
Oh my goodness. Well, Tim O'Donnell, of course, Miranda Carfrey, Karen Smyers, Wendy Ingram, Catriona Morrison, Mike Pigg. I could go Crowe. I could go on and on and on. Most of the big names have raced on St. Croix. You would see, most of the pros, they'll put together a 3 hour and 40-minute, 3 hour, 45-minute triathlon. Nobody has ever broken 4 hours in St. Croix, not even the biggest engine. I would love to see Jan Frodeno come down. Jan, if you're watching this, come on down. Don't think you could do it, but I would love to see somebody try to go sub 4 in St. Croix. But we've had all of the big names here for sure.
Awesome. Now, last year was your first year. You've had this for years and years before that, but this was the first year that you guys took over. Can you tell us about how it felt and what you did that was special about it?
Well, this is, last year was our 30th year of triathlon in St. Croix. This will be our 31st year, so we kind of already have a very good formula for multisport here. In addition to the half, we also host about 20 other multi-sport events in the Virgin Islands. We have triathlons almost every single month. And if we're not having a triathlon, we've got an open ocean swim or a sea swim or everything from 5K races to a 50-mile ultra marathon that's world renowned. So a lot of multi-sport, a lot of activity here in the Virgin Islands. When Teresa and I took over the race, Ironman dropped the race. The former race director dropped the race in 2017. Some people in the community came to us and said, you can't do that. This is a really lovely race. We want you to do it again. Will you guys please consider taking it over? Teresa and I, as the president and secretary general of Virgin Islands Triathlon, we do that. Where, by the way, that group, our only mission is to put kids on the Olympic path. Neither Teresa nor I receive any kind of salary. It's 100% volunteer. They came to us and they said, hey, you guys don't look like you're volunteering enough. You want to do some more? And we said, oh, sure, why not? So we decided to take over the race. I'm glad we did. The race was a relatively small race last year. We had about 160 participants. It was a good first year for us. But, we think that, triathletes race typically for race this race for one of two reasons. One reason is they want the challenge. You finish a half Ironman, you go, wow, that was a good race. I'm an Ironman. I'm a half Ironman. I did a race, and then you come here and you finish. And you go, holy crap! I really did something. And then you drive by your local half Ironman race and you throw rocks at them and go, hey, you guys come and do a real race. So it's either that mentality of I really want a superior challenge, or I want an experience. And I can tell you, I've raced all over the world, and there is no experience like St. Croix. And I'm not saying that because this is my baby. I'm saying that because look behind me. I swam with my wife and I don't know, a week ago. Swam with two beautiful hammerhead sharks. By the way, don't worry about the sharks. You're not on the menu. We swam with dolphins. We swim with turtles. 4 or 5 days a week. We swam with a big, beautiful manta ray a couple of months ago. So where else in the world are you going to see that stuff on your swim, right? So,
absolutely.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful race.
When I was there, I swam with a turtle. I was so excited. I never saw a turtle in the water before. It was amazing.
Well, there are so many good places to swim on St. Croix, and we have such an active community. Every Saturday, you can hop in with mask fins and snorkel for those of you who don't want to come down for the race, but maybe we'd like to come down on vacation. There's always something happening here, whether it's a bike race or a run race or like I say, an open ocean swim. Literally every Saturday, we have a group called the Fin Folk. We swim 1.5 to 2 miles. A lot of people just wear mask fins and snorkel and sightsee. By the way, I'm one of those guys. I'm not I don't feel like I need to be a purist. I don't wear goggles all the time. I love to see, like you, Hillary, I love to see the turtles and the dolphins and things like that. So there's always something to jump in here in St. Croix.
So last year at the race, you had some of the pros join relay teams. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, well, we call them legends. So we decided not to pay a pro purse, and it was a big debate. We talked to some triathletes, and we said, "Well, look, really, when you come to St. Croix, do you come here to hang out with Croix? Do you come here to hang out with Catriona Morrison or Mirinda Carfrae?" And these triathletes are all good friends of ours. But people said, "No, that's not why we come to St. Croix. We come to St. Croix because it's freaking beautiful, and it's a challenge." And so we decided not to dump $20,000-$30,000 into a pro purse. We decided to put that back into the athletes. And you got the swag last year. Was that like the coolest swag bag ever? So
Absolutely.
we're giving the stuff back to the athletes. So we decided not to do pros or pro purse, a pro race. We decided to invite some pros who had been here before and had exceptional names, people that we know and love. So we had Catriona Morrison, my good friend from Scotland was here. Karen Smyers, who we love. She is, the most Ironman wins ever. And then Wendy Ingram. If your listeners don't know Wendy Ingram, YouTube Wendy Ingram and the crawl, the famous crawl in Kona, where Wendy crawls to a horrible fourth place finish, and it's very inspiring to watch. But anyway, we love these ladies. We decided to have them back. We don't know who we're going to invite this year, but we are going to invite 3 more pros. And you can come down and race with the pros. They decided they all wanted to do some part of the race. They wanted to be involved. By the way, let me digress a little bit, Hillary, and remind your listeners that this is a not-for-profit. This is a 100% nonprofit event. 100% of our profits go back into the community this year. It's Special Olympics. Last year it was the animal shelter, the groups that had been devastated by the hurricane. And we still do have a lot of hurricane damage, as you saw when you were here. We still have homes without power. But this year we have decided to adopt the Special Olympics, who need a lot of help and need a lot of love. And we're so happy that to have them on our rosters for giving this year. So, when people do come down and race, they do come down and give, and they register for our races, know that your money is going to a very, very, very good cause in Special Olympics here.
A lot of people may use this race, and you guys call it Beauty and the Beast. I want you to actually explain that, why they call it Beauty and the Beast, and also how people use this as a destination race, like with the family type of thing.
Sure, okay. So, yes, Beauty and the Beast, this was pre-Disney's Beauty and the Beast. This triathlon here has been called Beauty and the Beast for, as far as I understand, 20 or more years. But the beauty, because, again, look behind me, you see the ocean and you see the palm trees. Mm-hmm. And it really is one of the most scenic races that I've ever done, maybe next to ZLMC Austria. But ZLMC is not as easy of a destination race as St. Croix. But certainly better than any of the other half Ironmans that I've done. People come here because of the beauty. We also, a lot of people come here because of the challenge. And the challenge that everybody knows on St. Croix is the Beast. The Beast is a very big hill, which I think you never rode up it, but you drove up it, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very emphatic. Yeah, I didn't do that. Beast is 0.7 of a mile long. It's 15 to 18% average grade with pitches up to 26%. So everybody tends to be afraid of the Beast. But when people talk about St. Croix, and when we go and we'll go to an expo or we'll go to another race, and I'll say St. Croix, and the first thing I hear is, "Oh, the Beast." The race is really not about the Beast, but the Beast is certainly a big challenge, certainly a challenging part of St. Croix. So that's how we became known as Beauty and the Beast Triathlon. And as far as a destination race, absolutely. Look, we're 2.5 hours from Miami. We're super, super easy to get here. I don't recommend athletes bring bikes through Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico flies small regional. I love my Puerto Rican friends, but Puerto Rico flies small regional planes here. If you're coming to St. Croix, just come through Miami. Everybody goes to Miami. Just route your bike through Miami. It's an easy, direct 2.5 hour flight to get here. They can take as many bike cases as you want to put on the plane. So you don't need a passport. You just need a driver's license. And when you go back, you can take a lot of rum with you free of charge. That's always cool. We drink rum in our cereal here. It's cheaper than milk. So there's a lot of things to do. We have beautiful beaches. We have a lot of things to do. We have a national monument, Buck Island National Monument. It is a stellar thing to do with the family. The Buccaneer Beach Resort, which I think you stayed at, right, Hillary? You stayed at the Buccaneer?
Gorgeous.
Stellar place for a family, very safe. Let your kids go out to the beach. Wonderful swimming beaches, pools, nice run around the golf course. So I see there's, oh, okay. This is, I saw a question. It's actually from you. It's, let me know if I have any questions. Okay. So anyway, yeah, St. Croix is not only a family destination, but it's also one of the easiest to get to. It's not really any harder to get to St. Croix from New York than it would be to go race Ironman 70.3 Santa Cruz. And I'm, again, love my Ironman friends. I have a lot of friends in Ironman. Love Santa Cruz, but it's easier to get here, and it's certainly a lot more scenic and a lot more challenging.
So tell us how we can train for this. I mean, we have almost a year to go before the Beauty and the Beast 70.3. And so talk to us a little bit about how we can train for this. I mean, I live on Long Island. It's all flat here, you know. What would you suggest we do?
Well, as a coach, I will tell you specific training is always best for the event. So do you know what Tabata training is? Let me explain. So Tabata training is the standard method of, it's considered by most coaches is the most effective method of training. And that is 80% easy, 20% hard. That's Tabata. And you go up and down, you over and under, 80% easy, 20% hard. St. Croix, that really doesn't work so well. St. Croix has something called a high variability index. And what that means is that the terrain is not flat like on Long Island. You're going to go up a slight hill, and then you're going to go down, and then you're going to go up a longer hill, and you're going to go down, and then you're going to climb the beast where you're redlining for the entire time, and then you're going to descend, and then you're going to hit South Shore, and you're going to be in the wind, and you're going to be in the wind for 20 miles, and your power is going to be up. So in terms of if I were looking at a bicycle power meter, instead of looking at that, you know, up, down, it's like up, down, you know, gradual up, 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 and then down. So you need to train a higher variability index. The best way to do that is to train at a lower cadence, higher power for a longer percentage of your bike. Again, the swim is downhill. Anybody can do the swim. It's salt water. You can turn over and float on your back and finish the swim, right? I mean, it's really hard not to make the swim cut off. But the bike is certainly challenging, and the best way to train for that is lower cadence, higher gear. So, you know, as a coach, I would say always be careful of your knees. But if you're, you know, riding in the big chain ring and a small cog on your cassette and you're turning 55, 60 RPMs, but, you know, you're really putting a lot of pressure on your legs and your knees, that's you know, not doing the whole training block like that, but doing a 5-minute segment like that, or a you know, a 15-minute segment where you're riding at a lower cadence, higher power. That's a great way to train for St. Croix. As far as the run, it's kind of the same thing. Go find a bridge, right? Go find something that you can run up. Now, St. Croix is not all uphill, but it is rolling hills, and you did the run. You know what I'm talking about. It's certainly manageable, right? I mean, you could do it. Anybody could do it. But the best way to train for it is to train that sustained climbing, so that you're not walking up those hills. You're able to actually run for an extended period of time, and that's the way to train for all of the distances here.
Yeah, what I thought was really cool about your race is, and I've done a lot of races, you know, through the 4 years that I've been doing this. The run, you guys had sponges, you had ice cubes, you had everything to cool the runners down. And I thought that was sensational. That was like, seriously, hands down, my favorite part of the race.
That's most people's favorite part of the race for sure. It does get hot in St. Croix. I have done this race. It used to be in May. And I remember very, very distinctly one year They had just repaved the area between town and the Buccaneer, and it was all very dark, hot, black asphalt. And my shoes were melting. And I'm not kidding, they were melting. Like, it's not an exaggeration. I was pouring water into my shoes to try to keep my shoes from melting, and it was that hot. St. Croix can still be hot for most people, including most people that train, anywhere in the northern United States or central United States for that matter. Anywhere where it doesn't get above 80 degrees, St. Croix can be a real challenge because it does get warm. I think on race day this year, it got up to it may be 87, 88 degrees. And I remember when Chicago Marathon, they ran out of water. Remember that? It was 88 degrees. They ran out of water and they were like shutting the race down. And all the people from St. Croix are going, wow, I would love to run at 88 degrees. That would be awesome. We wish it was so cool. So yes, we do have all of the things to keep you cool. We have a lot of ice. We had 1,200 pounds of ice for our athletes this year.
Amazing. Now, yeah, one of the things a lot of people have asked me about, you mentioned this about May. Why was it that you guys switched it from May to December?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, we had in September of 2017, most of your listeners will remember we had St. Croix, or the Virgin Islands, had 2 back-to-back Category 5 hurricanes where literally the eyes of the hurricanes came over the island. So St. Thomas got it first. St. Croix 10 days later got hit. Love my friends in Puerto Rico. Everybody hears a lot about Puerto Rico, and the devastation there. Hurricane Maria was a Category 4 and the eye went north of Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria was a Category 5 and the eye came directly across St. Croix. We took a lot of devastation from that storm. It was 4 months before the island had power. We were completely without power, most of us, for 4 months. So during that period, there was a lot of damage. There was still a lot of lines down on the road. A lot of those lines didn't get picked up, Hillary, until the week before the race. And us going to our local public works, begging for them to clear the roads. Please, we've got a race coming up. We've got athletes. That happened in December. But in May, the roads just were not cleaned up enough. And we had, the potholes and the damage and, getting manpower and materials here in the middle of the Caribbean after a race that's that devastating was pretty challenging. So we pulled it together for December. We're really good to go now, but May just wasn't quite ready. And a lot of our people, like your listeners, I'm sure, said, where would I want to be, in the first week of December? Do I want to be in New York or Chicago, or would I like to be in the middle of the Caribbean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, at the finish line, you had the Moko Jumbies. Can you talk about that a little bit and what that actually means? Yeah.
So there is a local legend that Moko Jumbies are these tall, I don't want to call them creatures. It's a tall, I don't know how to describe it, guys on stilts. But the idea is that they will keep evil spirits out of your home. So Moko Jumbies are a local legend, or a local, what's the word I'm looking for? You can help me. But anyway, Moko Jumbies are part of the culture in the Virgin Islands. And so anything that you go and do, whether it's a street party or, we have Mango Melee, we have, an agricultural fest. We certainly have Carnival here every year. Everywhere you go, you're going to see these guys on stilts. They're very colorfully dressed. They have on masks and hoods. They're fantastic dancers. I wish I had half their rhythm. But yeah, they're just to keep evil spirits away. And if you want to go and see the videos, I'll give your readers or your listeners a website when we're done. They can go onto our website and look at the video of Moko Jumbies at the finish line and people running through and giving high fives. And it was, I think, one of the best finishes I've ever seen in any triathlon. And again, look at our video and you decide and tell me if you've seen a better finish. I have never.
I agree 100%. So we talked about training. We talked about why you moved the event. Is there anything else that you want to talk about in terms of, you were talking a little bit about how there's races every weekend. Are you running those races
We do.
or?
We do. We run those races. Last Sunday, we had a kids duathlon, a juniors duathlon. We have juniors starting at age 5 years old, and I love to work with the young kids. The great thing about the young kids is they'll go as far as they can see a volunteer, and then they stop. So they just, they're great little athletes, and it's the future of the sport, and it's where our sport begins. So we spend a lot of time with our kids, but we have some really cool races here. We have a race coming up, I think maybe in April, called our Triple Mini, and it's 3 small triathlons back to back to back. So it's a 200-meter swim, a 3-mile bike, and a half-mile run, followed by a 200-meter swim and a 3-mile bike and a half-mile run, followed by. And so, we do really cool stuff like that. We have races called Island Hoppers, where it's a 2-person team race, 1 person on a bike, 1 person running, and those 2 people are a team. So the person on the bike bikes up to a transition point, drops the bike and the helmet, starts to run. The person that was running catches up to the bike, hops on the bike, puts on the helmet, and you just hop over each other. So that's a fun, short, fast race. We have all these really cool races. We have a 1, 2, and 5 mile ocean swim in November. We have a 50-mile and 50K ultra marathon in January. And yes, Virgin Islands Triathlon, VI Tri, Teresa Harper, my partner, and I, we're all very, very involved in that. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, at this point, if you can just give us information on how we could get in touch with you, sign up for Beauty and the Beast, or just look at some of these other amazing races that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I give all of your listeners information on how to find us, I have to do my thank yous. So first, I want to thank Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. They're a major sponsor. They do a really good job of promoting the Virgin Islands. You got to experience some of the really cool stuff with them, and we appreciate them very, very much. I also have to say I so very much appreciate my race partner, Teresa Harper. I could not do this by myself. Teresa's the get stuff done girl. She's the girl that makes everything happen, everything with every sport on this island. So, thank you, Teresa. I also have to thank the committee. We're part of a very big committee. The Buccaneer. I have to thank all of the people too many names to mention, all the people that sit on that committee and help us put this race together. So first, I want to offer your participants, your listeners, we are triathletes group, a very generous discount code between now and January the 28th. I almost said January 31st. Now between between now and January 28th, if you will use the code Best Winter Ever, then BESTWINTEREVER. Again, where do you want to spend winter, right? Where do you want to spend your December? Training on a trainer in the snow or down in the Caribbean?
So
Best Winter Ever, 25% off.
One question though,
Sure.
Now through January 28th, it's February.
Oh, how about February 28th? Okay. I was trying to do February 31st, which I've been seeing so much of. Everybody's putting February 31st, and obviously no February 31st. So thank you.
So February.
Between now and end of February, let's say it that way.
End of February.
Best Winter Ever, 25% off.
Wow.
And they can use that. There are several websites. The official race website is virginislandstriathlon.com. That's plural, virginislandstriathlon.com. Or you can go to the Triathlon Federation's website, and that is VITF.org, VITF like Virgin Islands Triathlon Federation.org. We have a calendar page on there with all of the swims, bikes, runs, and multi-sport events for the year on that website. So your readers and listeners can go there and check us out, watch the videos of the race, tell us if you disagree that it's not the coolest triathlon in the world. I would really love to hear it if you found a better one, because I want to go do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And this was so informative. So thank you.
Hillary, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.